Welcome to the very first podcast of Dream Better English with me, James O'Reilly. I'm going to be your teacher through this series and I'm very much looking forward to it. I've created this podcast because I've had a lot of students over the years of myself teaching English who would like to improve on their listening skills. So hopefully with this podcast I can help you wherever you are in the world at the moment to improve on your English listening and also introduce some new expressions, vocabulary, grammar and so on. And let me just state that this is for all different levels. If you're at a lower level, please don't focus too much on understanding everything. Just try understand the sense and little by little you will improve. That's for sure. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at different articles, giving my opinion, articles from newspapers or in the news at the moment, and commenting on those. So let's jump into it. First thing is an article from the International Post, and it's about immigration and the changes to immigration policy into the United States of America, or often we say the US. Recently in May, Donald Trump signed a new law that could come into effect soon, and it's about the United States only accepting qualified or experienced immigrants. Immigrants are people who come into a country. Immigrants are people who leave a country. So instead of traditionally the United States being a country that accepts everybody and you can make a future and try and find the American dream, this American dream could be over for a lot of people, because essentially the country will turn into a country where it will be a point system. You get more points for certain things. So they're looking for the United States now, if you want to live there, if you want to emigrate there, are looking for the cream of the crop. The cream of the crop means the best. The cream always goes to the top of the milk. So that's why we say the cream of the crop. It's quite interesting. It's pretty sad as well, in my opinion. The Statue of Liberty has that famous iconic statue as you enter into New York. It says on the Statue of Liberty, "Give me your poor, your sick, and I will integrate them into the community." And this has been true up to now. You have people who can go and still identify as where they are originally from. Irish American, Italian American, Mexican American, African American. And I find this, personally, my opinion would be that this is, it's a bit sad. I'm sure there are other people who would understand this and agree and think it's a good policy. However, I would like to mention that a lot of famous people have come from immigrant families in the United States. One example in particular would be Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, who his biological father was from Syria. So basically, without Steve Jobs, you wouldn't have Apple, and he comes from an immigrant background. Also, from a famous publication in the United States, the Huffington Post, the co-founder, Ariana Huffington, is Greek. So these people were given, and their families were given the opportunity to go to the United States with nothing, just a dream, and then build themselves a career and add and give back to the United States. So let's see where this goes. It's tense times in the United States at the moment with immigration. Hopefully it will have a positive outcome. And I'd be interested to to know your opinion on find out your opinion on what you think about this new immigration policy into the United States. You can send me emails to james@dreambetterenglish.com. That's james@dreambetterenglish.com. Okay, second story that I have for you now is I want to talk to you a little bit about I think the expression you could use in English. I don't think there is a fixed expression yet or anything concrete, but soft mobility. What I am referring to is electric scooters, electric bicycles, modes of transport that are not using an engine or that are clean or green, let's say. So for the past few years, I have been, at the moment I live in Europe, I live in Spain, and I have been living in Madrid, or I had been living in Madrid for a few years. And what I noticed was the increase in electric modes of transport, and such as scooters, cars and bicycles and so on. This seems to be really growing in Europe. Now, the problem is there doesn't seem to be a relation between the growing importance of these electric modes of transport or soft mobility there in relation to the infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, is there are no bicycle paths, they're not really allowed on the road. So what happens then is these people using these soft mobility are using the footpaths and so on. But having said that, the many parts of Europe are hoping to go completely clean and not using fossil fuels like petrol and diesel by 2040 in many cases. So I think this is really, really important for these electric scooters and so on. And I think we need to be using them more. And I think pedestrians, who are people who use the footpath, people walking are called pedestrians. Pedestrians need to be more, tolerant, let's say, because while the people are using scooters, electric scooters and so on, bicycles on the footpath, as I said, we don't have the infrastructure yet. We don't have the cycle lanes or everywhere yet. And I think this is a situation that the local governments or the council need to address. They need to look at it and think. I'm sure many of you listening to the podcast, wherever you are in the world, you perhaps have used these scooters, and it would be interesting to know your opinion and how you feel about it. In relation to electric cars, the top 3 countries in Europe where people are prepared to buy an electric vehicle, let's say a car, essentially a car, in the next 5 years, with 46%, it's Spain, followed by Belgium at 44%, and then 42% for Italy. This is really important. I think we need to move away from fossil fuels, from petrol, and really start looking at using electric vehicles. I have used the electric scooters, and they're fantastic, to be honest. I think nowadays a lot of places are restricting their speed because they can go pretty fast. And in the United States, even in the last year, there were around 1,542 cases of injuries using these electric scooters. And I can well understand this. From what I have seen here in Spain, they're exciting to use. They're really good fun, but they go pretty fast, and people are using them on the footpath or the sidewalk. They have their friends on the back. They have no helmets, and they're just going for it. And of course, something's going to happen, and people are going to get injured. But as I said before, I think the council need to catch up with the explosion of electric vehicles in this sense, and start putting more infrastructure for them to be used instead of the footpaths. But for the moment, I would ask pedestrians, and myself included, to be more tolerant and go, okay, at least they're not using a car. Yeah, so what's the future for electric vehicles? Well, in my experience and here in Europe, there has been a very big increase as well in car sharing. There are car sharing applications that you can download on your phone, apps. And I have done this, where you can share an electric vehicle. You download the application, you get your number, and you download with the application, you can see where these electric vehicles are in relation to your where you are. You reserve it, and you have 15 minutes to go to the car. You go in, you pay by the minute. So I would get into the car, and as I start, I pay between 24 and 39 cents a minute. I particularly use the scooters, not the cars so much, but I really do think that they are important. And one of the great things is it's freeing up a lot of parking space for other people. When cars in general that are not being used spend 95% of their time not being used. So these car sharing applications and forms of transport I find very useful. So let's hope in the future that this increases. In my opinion, it's a really good thing. And there are many applications at the moment. I downloaded one yesterday. Can't remember what it was called. Let me see if I can find out what the name of it was. It's an application. I think it works here in Spain. Yeah, I looked at it. It was called Urbi, and it just showed me where all the different modes of transport, soft transport or soft mobility, not using electric, essentially. Fantastic. Really, I really think this is the future, and long may it continue. So that's what I wanted to say in relation to soft mobility. I wonder how it is where you are in the world. Let me know. So, as I said, drop me an email, james@dreambetterenglish.com, and let me know what it's like where you are. Are you ahead of the game, or do you have more work to do where you live? Okay, so let me know. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next topic now. Okay, next story. So I'm going to look at a story here, excuse me, related to social media. This is about Generation Z or Generation Z. Z in the United States and Z in the UK English. So this is about the children that were born, let's say, before 1990, I believe, generations. I'm not entirely sure. So what these children have grown up in the digital age. Since they were born, they have grown up with devices in their hands. And it's a situation now where they're becoming very much conscious of their appearance online. And one of the situations is a famous celebrity, Gwyneth Paltrow, published a photo of her daughter, Apple Martin, online, and her daughter commented and said, "Mom, I told you you're not allowed to publish these photos of me online without my consent." The photo in particular here from the Washington Post is a photo on a ski lift. They had been skiing, and just a selfie basically of Gwyneth Paltrow and her daughter Apple. This is very interesting nowadays, especially for me as well. I have a child, and I'm quite conscious